Welcome to the Closer Experience, our midweek experience at the Leadership Church. Closer is a place where believers can grow closer to God. At TLC, we believe that making a spiritual development enhances our relationship with God, and that is more than a Sunday experience. And our Closer community provides just that. And now, the Closer Experience.
Hey everybody, I'm Pastor Tony Cash, lead pastor of the Leadership Church, and I'm here with some distinguished guests. I'm going to let my distinguished guests introduce themselves. I'm going to start with my right and let our distinguished guests introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm the Reverend Dr. Gerald Durley, Pastor Emeritus of Providence Missionary Baptist Church here in the great city of Atlanta, Georgia.
Absolutely. And
I'm Xavier Brandon, licensed minister, also a radio personality, and pleasure to be here with you.
absolutely. Listen, you're in for a treat today. This month is mental health, all about mental health. And one of the things that we want to make sure at the Leadership Church is that we honor and respect the fact that as powerful and as spiritual as we are, that even the people who are in Christ could use a little help and a little knowledge. And so this is the Closer Experience. And the Closer Experience is all about reaching those places in ministry that traditionally you don't get on a Sunday, you don't get on a Wednesday. It's really about just being human. I think you can relate to that, where sometimes on a Sunday you can have a great message, Pastor, but you can't really get down to the humanity of it. You don't have enough time. So we need moments like this where we can just talk, especially to men. What you think about that, Pastor?
I think that's very important because we get caught up in cliches.
Yes.
I'm tired of cliche Christians.
Yes.
The Lord will make a way out of no way. Blessed be the name of the Lord. The Lord is ever too wise to make a mistake. And they're living lives of hell.
Absolutely.
Every now and then we have to stop and understand that the body, the mind, and the spirit must work together. So I think it's important for sessions like this where we're not up before the congregation and talking about what really bothers us.
Yes. Thank you so much. What you think about that?
I mean, he put it perfectly.
He did.
I don't really know if there's much to follow with that, but I think there's a lot of times where I like to use, he said cliches, I like to say that we speak a lot of Christianese.
Yes.
Right? And so you're talking to a person, they ask you how you doing, blessed and highly favored.
Yes.
Okay, yes, we know that. But how are you actually doing?
Yes.
Are you going through a depression right now? Are you sad? Are you happy? Are you overjoyed? And I think if we had more honesty about what's really going on with us and we were more vulnerable and transparent, then these things that happen outside of the four walls wouldn't be so rare.
Absolutely.
It would be more of a consistency.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so that's what we're here to talk about, men and mental health. And May is Mental Health Month. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. I think every month should be Mental Health Month, especially for men, because we're under enormous pressure. And not to say that the women are not, but when you are born a man, you come out with a set of expectations. You come out with this notion that you're tough, that when you fall and skin your knee, you shouldn't cry. You come out with this idea that the same pain that your little sister has when she hurts, oh boy, get up and toughen it up. And we want to debunk that myth. And we want to say that men do hurt and men do cry and men do feel. And we may not respond or show it in the same manner that a woman does, but it doesn't make it less painful. And so I'll share, even for myself, and I want to hear what my distinguished colleagues here say. Growing up in Bankhead Courts, real tough environment. You just, back then you didn't have all of these protections for the words you say. If you cried, you were soft. If you cried, you was a punk. If you cried, you were gay. And it was all these epithets thrown at you to where you could be almost dying, but you. And I think, we still carry some of that stigma today in the world. And so I really want to ask you, as a young man, you see men who are 15, 20 years younger than me. What's the one issue you see when it comes to them really opening up about their mental health and how they're feeling?
I think that we don't teach young men or young boys how to express their feelings and emotions in a healthy and productive way. Like, we don't give them a safe space to be able to share, man, you hurt my feelings.
Yes.
Right? And that starts at home. You know, that starts in our community. Our culture isn't one for emotional intelligence, especially if you're a black male. So when you don't teach a person how to describe how I'm actually feeling, and all I know is anger or rage or disrespect, then my only form of communication is sometimes in frustration or violence.
Yes.
You know, and I think also we don't champion therapy. Now, in the last 10 years, maybe, you know, since mental health has been such a big trending topic, you've seen it more acceptable, especially in younger generations. However, as a totality, there's still a taboo or a stigma on going to see a therapist. You still looked at as you might be crazy. I mean, when I was in high school, I was having issues with my family. And so my mom wanted us to go to counseling and stuff. And even back then I was like, yo, I don't need nobody telling me what's going on. And that's detrimental, because sometimes you don't need someone just to talk to just because you got a problem. Sometimes you need somebody to talk to just to process. There could be good things going on in your life, and you don't have someone who's unbiased.
Correct.
That can sit there and say, you know what?
Yeah, they have no emotions attached to it, so they can give you a fair,
objective,
objective
opinion. Yeah.
Pastor, you know, you being a leader in our community, and I know you rub shoulders with some great men. I know you know men at every level. You know the mayor. You have a personal relationship with him, and so you get to see men at a level that maybe we don't. And when you're at that level, Pastor, what's the challenge in admitting, in your opinion, what's the challenge in admitting that, hey, I may need to take a break from this great role because I'm dealing with mental challenges. I'm dealing with issues that, as brilliant as you all think I am, I'm struggling. What do you think the challenge with those at that level is?
First of all, you all have answered all the questions. I think it's great.
Yes.
First of all, you said we come out a certain way. But we come out, as we call it, a tabula rasa. We're all created equal.
Okay.
We're conditioned. Black men are conditioned, don't cry. You see, mothers raise their daughters and love their sons. We need to raise our sons and love our daughters. So what happens commonly, and I guess when I look at it now, I was 19 years old when I joined up with Martin Luther King and John Lewis and Andy Young and all of us. And in those days, we would feel the same fears, but there's a certain kind of shield that you put around you. It's called a protection, because you don't want to appear that you don't have the answer. So we have a pseudo kind of something around us to protect us, because we're hurt on so many different levels. And so men begin, and once you started, it's kind of like lifting weights. You can lift 50 pounds if you start off with 5 pounds. So you start off saying, we call it, I don't think I can do it, then I think I can do it. Then we cover our real feeling to protect ourselves.
Okay.
And so we grow up in a society that we are taught, you need to protect your family, you need to protect, but we never get an opportunity to say, I hurt. This is where I hurt. And the more you say that, or don't say that, the more that shield comes up around you. So I think that when I look at men who've really grown to levels of mayors and governors and senators. And my good buddy, I just installed him, Raphael Warnock. He said they have the fears inside, but we've learned to what we call compensate for those behaviors. And you can only compensate for so long, because the body, the mind, and the spirit work together. And if your spirit is not strong, your mind will get weak, and when your mind and your body are weak, you lose something. And that's what we're seeing out here. So we act out in terms of the violent behavior that you talked about, in terms of the other kinds of behavior. So we've got to now understand that all three of those things must come together. We've got to feel a certain freedom. But people will look at you, and they'll look at me sometimes and say, you're very strong. And I have to tell them, I am not strong, but I am resilient.
Yes.
We've got to understand the difference between strength and resilience. All of us are going to reach moments where we're going to give up, we want to quit, we want to turn around, we want to back up, we want to bow, we want to... But then you stop and you come back again.
Yes.
That's what we've got to put in our young black males now. That just because you hit one wall doesn't mean that's the end of your life.
Absolutely. I love that word, compensate, because I'll be very transparent with you. that's what I've done for a long time before I personally started to see a therapist. I just compensated. So the fact that I didn't express my pain and my hurt, it came out in machoism. It came out. So somehow you were going to figure out that I was hurting. You may not know you were partaking in. You know, anybody know about having your own private experience or experiment that others are involved in and they have no clue? They are a part of it, and that's what I was doing. And so I overcompensated with this machoism. I overcompensated with this this idea that I got to be tough. I got to. And what happened is, Pastor, and you said it. So you really do learn. Now you're gonna crash and burn eventually, but you really do learn that. Oh, I was able to lift that weight and hide that. So then each level I go up, I get actually stronger in lifting that weight that I'm hiding. And I start learning how to do it and say, oh, you know what? Well, I'll take a drink.
First verses, you don't know you're hiding.
Correct.
It becomes who you are.
It becomes really a part of you. Yes.
Also a point where there are things that you learn when you are younger that you think, because no one tells you, hey, it's okay to protect yourself.
Yes.
Right? You learn that you have to continue to do this over and over and over again. For instance, let's go back to lifting weights. If I just put 5 pounds on each side, eventually you can move on.
Mm-hmm. You can move on.
Right? You can add more weight.
Yes.
But the problem is we don't tell men or people, hey, you can add more weight. You don't have to stay where you were before. So this self-defense mechanism that you created because that girl broke your heart back in middle school, and for you now never would allow a woman to be close to you because you're afraid that she's going to break your heart just like that person in middle school did. Like, eventually you got to learn, like, that self-defense mechanism worked at that time, but you're not there anymore.
Yes.
And I think sometimes if we don't empower men or tell men it's okay to let this thing that you created in your mind or that you were taught to help you get through a certain point, it's like trauma responses. Like you only respond this way because that's all you knew how to respond. But you didn't develop the tools, or you wasn't taught the tools to say, hey, I'm no longer surviving anymore. I'm thriving now. I don't have to operate the same way I was when I was surviving now that I'm thriving. You know, so.
I had another question, but he said something, Pastor, that I think is bear worth really talking about. You used the word empowering. And, you know, when you think about that, Pastor, having experience in leading men, you've not just led the average man, but you've led great men. How do we empower, and I really want to hear from both of you, how do we empower young boys and young men with this idea of taking care of their mental health, that it's okay to say, hey, I have challenge? How do we do that?
First of all, everything, even the three of us who are talking today, everything starts with a thought.
Okay.
With a thought. Before I say a word out of my mouth to either you, I have to think about it. So first of all, we've got to get back to the thought process, the conditioning, the operant conditioning, as we call it, operant conditioning. So when you think about something, so we got to go back to the men to say, what are you dwelling upon? What you dwell upon will eventually become your thoughts, and your thoughts will become your values, and your values become your behavior, and your behavior becomes your destiny. And the destiny that we see are the end products of the thoughts that we have. So for men, that when you sit down, and same way that a coach can't, when LeBron James goes on the court, a coach can't teach LeBron James how to shoot, but a coach can talk to LeBron James' thoughts to say, you are the best. You can do it. We don't have enough people saying, you can do it. You're not a loser. Just because your dad's in jail and your mama became this, you can do it. We don't have those reinforcing thoughts. And once we can put it in their mind that they can do it, then those thoughts begin to regenerate. So when you run into a situation, remember all in life is about is survival.
Yes.
Every thought, every word, every action, every job, every degree, whatever you have is about surviving. So once we can condition a person to get their thoughts right, then they will learn how to survive. If those thoughts are not there, they won't survive, and they'll look for another way to get out of it.
Yes.
And that way sometimes is not the most positive way. So the men that I've worked with over the years, and I've seen them for so many years, first of all, we'll sit down. Before we could go out and march to Selma, Alabama, we would sit down and say, this may be the last time, but we're coming back. We're
Absolutely.
going back. And we said to each other, when you go into a huddle, you say it to each other, we're going out, we're going to win. And then all of a sudden, your whole behavior, the way you carry yourself,
yes.
the way you respond to young ladies,
yes.
the way you respond to your job condition, when your thoughts. So we have to work with our young men's thoughts to get them so that when we're not there, they do it automatically themselves.
So you being a young man, a young minister, and thank you, Pastor. How does that relate to young men your age in the sense of mental health? I really believe, Pastor, I'm just going to tell, so as a man thinketh, so is he.
Yeah, thanks.
And so how does that play, and how do we reach those young men? You know, what are some of the mechanisms or processes we need, or just the way we speak to them? Because my nephews used to tell me, oh, it's just the way you speak to me. And I said, yeah, I'm speaking to you based on how you're acting. But I learned later that even though they were acting tough, they still didn't want me to speak to them. So, you know, when you think about that, how do we reach those young men in your age level or younger and help them value what Pastor just said, the way they think in mental health?
I think first you got to recognize that people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care.
Okay.
So you can't be afraid to be involved in their lives. Like, if you're afraid that they're not going to listen to you, or they're going to respond in a way that's going to be disrespectful, or they're going to dismiss you, if you allow that fear to take over, then you'll just stay stagnant, and you'll be commentating on the sideline.
Okay.
Oh, these young kids are so bad, and they don't know no respect, and they don't. But it's like, well, are you commentating on the sideline, or are you in the game?
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? Are you putting all those principles that you preach every Sunday into action?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Or are you just, eloquently using whatever you found in your pericope to be able to get whatever you know? It's like,
what you're saying.
I think it's actually like being in the midst with the people. So
we gotta get in there.
You got to get in there. Go play some basketball with them. Go take them out to eat. You know what I mean? Go sit down, chop, and listen. Listen. Not listen to
respond.
But listen to understand. To have empathy. You know what I mean? To relate. Like, be all things to all men that you may win some.
Yes.
You know, if you put that into practice, it's like, yo, to the drug dealer, I can talk that drug talk. To the athlete, I can talk to the athletes. To the ministers, I can talk to the ministers. You know what I mean? I don't have to be a chameleon. I don't have to transform into these things, but I know how to meet them where they are.
Well, the Apostle Paul said that I learned to be all things to all men. He wasn't saying that I became sloppy drunk with the drunk. He wasn't saying that I started. No. He's saying what I did is I recognized my own flaws in my humanity, and so when I looked at me and realized that I'm no better than them, I could sit down with them and smell the liquor, smell the beer, and still love them. I could sit down with the drug addict and smell the drug and still love them, because I recognize that at the end of the day, we all people. What you say to that?
Well, that's what I say. Rahab was a prostitute. Yes. She saved them, didn't she?
Yes.
She did.
See, the key word that we're playing, and you hit it a couple of times, fear.
Excellent, too, by the way.
Fear. Fear is predicated upon the I don't know. It's not. And when you don't know something, guess what you are? Ignorant. So what we've got to do is remove the ignorance. How do you remove the ignorance? By putting something in the place. But when you're fearful, you'll do anything. I would prefer to fight a person who's out on drugs than somebody who's fearful, because they don't have any way of how they can make cognitive changes in their behavior. So we've got to eradicate and certainly lessen the fear that many of our young men have. The fear comes from many things. Fearful of bad relationship, fearful of what my daddy used to do to me, fearful of what people will say to me, fearful about my color.
Yes.
I'm too dark, or I'm too light, or my hair's not. All of those fears add up. And when we're fearful, we can do one or two things. We can either get rid of that fear by learning more, or we can be kind of just stay where we are. Mm-hmm. I call it constipated ignorance. Mm-hmm. And so consequently, we've got to go beyond that and get rid of that and loosen it up. Loosen up that stool that's inside that keeps you there. And so if we can, and that's what we got to do with young men. And the reason that they don't go to talk to the drug addict, the reason we don't stop, I've heard so many people, even now, I'd like to tell my son to do this, but he might walk away from me, or he might cuss me out, or he might even fight me. So the fear that I have of losing something, So if we can eradicate, and many parents are fearful of what they're doing with their own children.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And so consequently, that fear has built up that wall, that crusty wall, and the children are getting. Our children are getting mixed messages. One time in a black community, when the teacher said something to you, you knew it. Then your parents said it, and then the preacher said it. We had 3 things reinforcing our behavior. Now the parents are not there. The preacher, I don't know where the preacher is half the time, and the school system is going in all kind of directions. So we had those. For those of us, we had the parent, we had the church, and we had the job or the school.
Yes.
All 3 of those things are shattered now. So we got to come back because we're fearful of trying to correct those things. And that's what we've got to do now.
Constipated ignorance.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that's something in your generation they would say.
No. We wouldn't say that. But I think that's smart. But I think you also got to know the lay of the land too.
Yes.
Right? Like, we live in a very digital internet world. Gen Zers are probably the most digitally savvy individuals. They've gone through the pandemic. They've gone through a lot of crises. They're not about all that talk. They a lot about action. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to talk to them, and
now what's the age group of the Gen Z?
So I'm a millennial. So and I'm 30 and I'm 36. So Gen Zers are probably like your college age students right now, and younger.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I got
when you look into
God help me.
Elementary, that might be alpha and stuff like that. But
I got you.
I don't even have an age group.
Right. But so if you want to talk to them and you want to get them involved, you gotta mean what you say and say what you mean.
Okay.
They not for all that, you talk a good game, but you're not walking that walk. So your lifestyle has to be on because they will hold you accountable to it. Look at all the things that you're seeing, all the protests and stuff and the riots dealing with Palestine and dealing with Israel.
Yes.
And wherever you stand on it is where you stand. But they're saying, hey, we disagree with whatever's happening for our country and we're willing to do something about it. Just like I'm sure you did, Pastor, when you went down to Selma and you was marching, doing those things, because you said this injustice cannot continue to stand. Right. And so if you want to be a person that wants to impact them, especially when they're dealing with their mental health, one, you need to be in the fight with them, and you need to be able to show them and verbalize that I have something that's valuable that you need as well, just as much as you have something valuable that I need as well.
And you got to be genuine in that too. And because what I find with young people, they can look and know when they're phony. You've got to know. In particular, I just did a full program with a group of young people who were living in the camps up at Emory and over at Morehouse. When they were getting ready, they were afraid. The college students, I was Dean at Clark for 9 years, so I was working with the young people, and the fear. But when I found out, if what's his name, Doug Krzyzewski, the coach of Duke, what's his name, the chef.
Mike Krzyzewski.
Mike Krzyzewski. He can take a brother right out of University of John Hope and talk to him directly, give him honest, and turn him around. We're afraid to speak directly to young people and be honest because they don't like all that phony.
No, they
don't. But another
don't.
thing we've got to do, I think, given that AI is in now and so much artificial intelligence doesn't have a feel yet. It's got the knowledge. So when our young people are pushing a button here, pushing a button there, we've got to put in, and how do you understand the hurt, the pain? AI doesn't hurt. AI just reacts. So how to combine those two elements, the brilliance of the intelligence, the artificial intelligence, but also the humanism that we get. And right now, many of the parents say, hey, give them this, and they learn it, and they're smart.
Yeah.
But when it comes to making a decision, sometimes it's extremely difficult.
Yes. I'd like to go to that space of genuineness with the three of us. And we talked about that. Young people like genuineness. Yeah. They like real. They like to know where you stand. And I'd love to hear from each of you, gentlemen, on, your journey in mental health and your journey, and what are some of the mechanisms that you use, and what are some of the, let's just be open, what are some of the failures you've had where you did not use the proper processes to deal with mental health issues, and then what are some of your learning? So, I'll start with you.
Okay, so I go to therapy on a consistent basis. I just had a therapy session on Friday.
Yeah, I got one tomorrow.
Hey, I love my therapist. I think that for me, utilizing those tools, I first went to therapy because I was having issues in my marriage. Right, my wife and I was on the brink of divorce, and we had to be honest with ourselves and work through some of the things that was troubling in our marriage, whether that was financial issues, whether it was adultery, whether it was lack of communication. Whatever. These are some of the things that we had to work through in our therapist. And not only through therapy did we get certain tools, but we also went home and did the work and had honest conversations with each other. Okay, so some of those things. So that's therapy is one thing, but also I do things because I'm a creative. I do things to express myself. So whether that's writing rhymes or DJing or podcasting or having conversations, I use an outlet to show that creativity. But the last thing I will say that helps my mental health has been fitness. So going to the gym, working out, that cardio, it'll allow you to release them pushing them weights. It'll allow you to get some of that stuff off of you. So
get outside.
Get outside, walk. With my fraternity, we do a lot of hopping and stepping. So that burns off the weight too. You know what I mean?
What fraternity is that?
That would be the Great Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. That's what I'm a part of. So because of that, we do a lot. We do a lot of that, and that burns up. Huh? What'd you say?
That's that mental stress.
hey, so it helped through a lot of my mental health issues.
We grew up and say, "Boys will be boys." I knew eventually we were gonna find something to rib each other about.
Right. But through all of those things, that and community as well.
Yes,
I would say being able to talk to my friends.
Yes.
And be honest about where I was, all those 4 things. So therapy, creative outlets, working out and fitness, and community were the things that have been helping me with my mental health.
I'm so excited about the 4 points that you made. They're so very real. And I guess for me, I swim 30 laps twice a week.
See?
Yesterday was my birthday.
Oh, happy belated.
I turned 82.
Woo!
So I was married for 55 years and did marriage counseling for 38 years. So to hear the two of you honestly going into it, because when I can't go into it, I'm a psychologist. My doctorate degree is in psychology from University of Massachusetts. So for years, but there was a certain stigma when you go to therapy. And for me to see 2 black men say that openly and outwardly, I'm going to therapy. And it is so important because the key to the relationship in your own mind is communication. You hit it. Yeah. And when I talk to young couples to communicate either with yourself or to others, there are 3 primary principles in order to communicate. You got to first understand each other, then respect each other, then trust each other. Where there's no respect, trust, even in your own mind, if you can't respect yourself, trust yourself, nor understand yourself, you're not communicating, and anything will go. So it's so critical now. What I do, everybody must find when they reach that point. I've reached a point, I call it finitude, when I don't know what I'm getting ready to do with all the places I've been, all the things. So here's what I do. I used to run the mile relay and the quarter mile relay. And what I do in a race, you have a baton. If you run a relay. So in my mind, when I'm getting, everything is coming in on me, I say, whatever the problem is, whether it's finance, whether it's in your case of marriage, I say, wait, I got the baton in my life. Let me run my leg of the race as fast as I can. Now I've got a 15-yard to pass that baton on to somebody. In my mind, when I reach the point when I can't do anything else, I say, God, I've run it as fast as I can.
Yeah.
And I pass my baton on to God. God has never lost a race. Yeah. But I got to put it in enough time. If I go 6 out the 15-yard line, then I'm going to lose my mind. I go into depression. So once I pass that baton on, I don't keep running. I stop. I stand and applause or praise. I say, keep on running. Most of us, when we reach that point where we can't take it any longer, we don't know how to pass the baton on. And if we pass the baton on, we still want to keep running.
Yes.
Give up that baton. That's how I do it. When I was rushing to get here today, I said, I might be a little late. God, it's out of my hands. I passed the baton, and when I came just as calm and just as cool. I don't know what you use or what somebody else use, but you've got to find something that works for you. Absolutely. In my case, it's a sporting event that I can use as far as running track. When you reach the point of finitude, meaning I cannot go any further mentally, I cannot go even further spiritually. When I think that God has abandoned me, left me alone, put me out, that's when I say, let me give you the baton.
Absolutely.
And then stay out of the way. We say,
stay out of the way.
And here's another thing. I close with this. We sing a song. I tell people, don't come up to me and sing the song, I'm on the battlefield. I don't need anybody else to sing that song, I'm on the battlefield. I've seen people sing, I'm on the battlefield, teeth fall out, wigs fall out. No, I don't need any more folks on the battlefield. What I need is some folks in the battle.
Yes.
You see, we're in the battle. Black people are in the battle. And when you're in the battle, that's when you know how to get with God and say, we're going to win this. But you can be on the battlefield and be 30 miles from the battle. But you tell everybody else about the battlefield. Get off the battlefield. Let's get in the battle and run on, give it to God and let him run on to the victory.
Pastor Tony, can I just add one more thing, one last thing that Pastor Gurley was able to bring up that I totally forgot was the power of prayer.
Yes. Yeah.
So one of the things that I recognize when I'm going through a depressive state, a lot of times it's because I haven't been praying the way I need to be praying.
That's right.
Not only have I not been praying the way I need to be praying, I haven't been listening and being obedient the way I need to be listening and being obedient. And that's something that I don't think that I can pass up or anybody really can pass up.
Yes.
Like when you're going through a hard time, sometimes you just need to pray and listen to what the Lord tells you to do.
Be still and know that I'm God. Psalms 46:10.
Amen.
Amen. So, for me, and as we're coming to a close, first of all, I just admire the two men that are sitting next to me, the openness, the candidness. It's not easy to share with the world what our challenges are. You win a medal, man, you go on Facebook and you go on Instagram and you go on YouTube and you create all types of stuff when you're winning, and then you get your song behind it. All I do is win. But then when we have challenges, you say, man, I haven't seen Tony on the Instagram in a while. I haven't seen, when you don't see me on Instagram, Facebook, I'm in some trouble. And we need to be just as open and just as loud about the challenges as we are about the wins we have in our lives, because people are watching. People are looking at us saying, hey, at the level you're at in life, if I can see you overcome, if I can see you win, even though you have challenges, then I believe. And that's one of the ways I deal with my mental challenges. When I'm really stressed, just to tell you, they have to tell me, Pastor, you can't tell everything when you're preaching. I say, I tell them because I want them to know that even with this anointing and even with this gift, I still have challenges.
You mean you tell it all?
Right.
Oh, no.
I tell it all. And the wife is over in the corner going,
cut it off. Wrap it up.
But I've helped many people by being transparent and then seeing that therapist and then just being an open person. And so that's what this is about. We want you to know, you, the brother, the men at home, we want you to know you're not alone. We want you to know that we're with you. We want you to know that you're not crazy out of your mind and nobody cares about you, that there are means and ways that you can get help. Raise your hand. Say something. Tell someone, I'm just not feeling well mentally. Things are just not going the way that I want them. Because disappointment, can I just tell you, I got one, disappointment will take you out. I just recently dealt with a matter and I said, I told my therapist, you got to get me in twice. Because disappointment, and a lot of our black boys, at the end of the day, I've been them, they're dealing with, how you get told how great life is, but every time you turn around, there's disappointment. We want you to know that we're here. We want you to know. So we're going to close out.
Disappointment is an appointment.
It is an appointment.
Make an appointment. Disappointment.
We're going to close out because we're at our time. But I want each of these men, 30 seconds, one positive thing to say to a young man that may be looking at this.
I would say to any of you who are young men to, first of all, recognize where you are and set some positive kinds of initiatives in your mind. And find somebody that let me give you a tough word. Find somebody that you can trust
and open up to that person. You don't have to say everything because it comes in waves, but be honest with yourself first. When you're hurt, say you're hurt.
And find somebody that's concerned about you. I would say that first and foremost. And then
understand this. Please understand this. This is very key. Once you get to a point, there's nothing wrong with slipping back and going through another period where you're just not strong enough. Know that you're resilient, not necessarily all-powerful.
Absolutely.
I would definitely say keep God at the center of your life, and I promise everything else will be all right.
Amen. Keep God. And I'm Pastor Tony Cash, and I want to tell you that we love you. The Leadership Church loves you. You can reach us at tonycash.org to be a part of our Monday men's call. Starts at 7 o'clock. This month is mental health. We'll send you the link. And so just thank you for this time. On behalf of the Leadership Church, all of our elders, deacons, minister, layperson, all of our men, these great men here that God blessed me to be with today, we thank you for joining our program, and reach out to us. We look forward to being a help to anyone who needs help. God bless you. Make it an amazing day.